question I have is, what happens when the moment when religion decides that the sacredness of the image is itself something that must be banished? Thinking, of course, of the golden calf.
Something that must be banished.
Right, the prohibition on the graven image. When these images begin to be seen as idolatrous, can you say
well,
something
this is
about
precisely a reaction against that type of religion, which is perfectly understandable. But religion becomes more spiritual, exclusively spiritual.
Yeah.
Most gods.
My question is, if you interpret these images, and it's quite convincing, as a type of hunting of animals, as a scapegoat phenomenon, couldn't that be a proof of Walter Burkhart's thesis that religion comes out of huntings of animals? So what would be your, because if Walter Burkhart would be now among us, he would say, well, now you have given in. So how can you show us a sequence from human sacrifice to animal sacrifice in this way of scapegoat hunting?
Well, I think the human is always there in the sense that the animal is attributing human feelings. But indeed, everything I showed there strengthened the thesis of Foucault. No doubt. And this, I don't think, is very important or dangerous for the mimetic field. I'm perfectly willing to change my view of the relationship between animal and man, according to the evidence. But we didn't have any. Yeah, so he may be more right than I thought. Sandy?
Professor, this is Malat's first illustration at the far right, which isn't this illustration, the one before that. On the far right, there is clearly a figure that appears to be female, represented by the broad hips, which is so unlike the other
That's
figure.
what, yeah.
On the other illustration,
On the other illustration.
the one before, yes, there is what appears to be a female figure on the far right. She's the only one that you can identify as female. You notice the broad hips. She's represented in gray. And I wonder, doesn't appear to be participating in the hunt, but certainly observing the hunt in some fashion. And I wondered if you care to comment on that figure. She's so unlike
Well, Ian Hodder argues that it's the only character in these pictures which might really be a woman. Yeah. He doesn't seem to agree for the other one we just talked about. But I don't think he spent much time interpreting these pictures. So, yes, I feel the same way you do, but I don't have much to add. Obviously, these moths are essentially masculine, and it's very important, I think, that they're always hunting masculine animals. But what it means, ultimately, we don't really know. I think it's important because given the period, Çatalhöyük has been interpreted as a religion of woman, in particular because of a picture which is on the last, I don't know where, we could show the last picture. The famous picture of the woman sitting between two lepers. Go to the last picture. See, this is the most famous picture of Çatalhöyük. No one knows everything about the paintings that we're talking about. They had no publicity of any kind. But this picture has been represented all over the world the way it is here. And when you look at it, it looks monumental. In reality, it's this high. And it was found in a bin full of grain. It was protecting the grain or something. And there are figurines like that. And by the way, it's been restored. It had no head. And the leopard to the right, also the head is a modern one. So when you see the reality, it's much less impressive than it seems. But it is indeed important. And it seems that there was a participation of women in the culture, which would be, what should I say, favorably influenced if what we said about the preceding images is true. Yes.
Just go back to the previous picture of the priesthood before that.
That one, we're not even sure it's the leopards, but it probably is, because there is a tendency in the decoration to suppress realism.
The one before that. Keep going. There you go. This is the one that we were talking about before. I wonder if there's a kind of movement from the left side of the picture to the right side of the picture. You had said that you didn't see development, but if you look at the hooks, for example, cutting off of the hooks, the one on the right, there must be some hooks, but they're almost non-existent. And that seems to be also true in the other picture. Can you just go back to the other? Yeah, also the hook, the right, the bottom of the hooks seem almost non-existent. There also seems to be, that's one thing I noticed. The other, and now if we just go back to, again, the previous one, there seems to be a conglomeration of activity around the animal without the hooks, more so than the animals on the left side of the picture, which seem to be lined up in two different lines. Whereas there seems to be a mixture of the animal, around the animal with the, yeah, this animal right here, you see there's more going on around there. Whereas here, up in the left-hand corner, there's these two lines. So it's almost as if you're moving from difference to undifferentiation down here in the right-hand corner, which is, of course, where the woman was noticed and the interaction. There's another couple that seem to be doing something. Castration, perhaps. But it's interesting. So I wonder if you see that connection.
Yeah, I prefer to stay with your observations. You know, I don't think we should over-interpret. But what you say is really there. And everybody can draw their own conclusions.
The one previous to this, again, there certainly is a parallel with the concentration on the rear of the animal and the front, the tongue, and this one especially, the back side and the tail. It really does, I may just have a mind like Robert Cameron Kelly's about castration. He seems to be, really want to get that the gonads of the animal, the male animal, at the tail.
I didn't hear what